there, Michelle. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Lindsay, how are we liking the episodes for today?
I think we're liking them, Michelle. I'm liking the choices. I mean, I really like today's choice of a topic, which I'm so excited to
Yes.
explain to our listeners what it is. But why did you ask me how are we liking the episodes? Weren't you just asking how I like the episodes?
That's true. I guess I was just asking you because I already know about myself, but I don't know. It just felt right. So maybe that's something we're going to get into today. Why in the world did I say we? So-
This is a fascinating language pattern, and
yeah.
there's a lot to say about connection today for
Yeah.
this. So I am excited.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is just going to be an interesting way to learn about how to make people feel they're part of a group or that you're part of their group. So, I mean, Lindsay, have you ever had a waiter or a waitress come over to you and say, "How are we doing tonight?"
Yeah, 100%. How are we doing? I've had them come over and say, "Are we still working?" And I always thought that was
Ah,
weird. I always
we're
thought that
working
was
on
strange.
it.
It's a
Me
separate
too.
episode for another day, but are
Mm,
we still working? And that doesn't
Still
mean
working.
like, are we writing our
Doing
math
work.
homework? It means, are we still eating? That makes it feel like it's hard work to be eating,
Right.
like we're trying to stuff ourselves or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's very strange, but that's a
Yeah.
separate topic. So, yes,
It's true.
are we still working? Yes,
Mm.
they say that all the time, all the
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
But they're not
Yeah.
eating, right? So
Right. Or something so I'll hear them say something like, "Oh, what are we thinking of having for appetizers? What are we thinking?" It's
all the
but
time.
the waiter isn't one of the people thinking, so it's just an interesting phenomena.
It's really, really interesting. And there are a lot of reasons why you might do this, and we're going to get
Mhm.
into it. But first, Michelle, can I do a special shout out to a super listener?
Yes, this is incredible. All right, let's hear it, Lindsay. I can't wait.
This is truly incredible. We have an open forum with our listeners. If you have listened to all of the episodes of All Ears English, you are considered a super listener. And
Yes.
today we're letting you know that Christina Vilo from Valencia, Spain has listened to all of our episodes. So we're doing a special shout out to Christina. She's
Yes.
listened to more than 2,000 episodes. So we just want to say
Wow.
thank you to you, Christina, for being a super listener. And Michelle, any thoughts there?
Just that that's really amazing, and we thank you so much. You've been
Yes.
with us on quite a long journey so far, over 10 years, over
Yes.
2,000 episodes. So just it's amazing. Thank you for sticking with us and really believing in connection, not perfection. So we're so appreciative.
Yes, we love our super listeners. Guys, if you're also a super listener, email me to support@allearsenglish.com and we will announce your name on the show. All right. So, Michelle, let's get back to it. Let's get back to this concept of we.
Yeah.
Again, it's very strange that the waitress would say, "Are we still working?" Because she's not eating. He or she is not
Yeah.
eating at that moment. So, why
Right.
we? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting and very common. To me, sometimes I feel that it's very natural sounding, but do you ever feel that it sounds forced?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes it kind of makes my ears perk up a bit or it feels a little awkward. So I
Yes.
actually don't know how I really feel about this. If I love it or if it just feels, I don't know. It just
Yeah.
sometimes it feels awkward, like it's a little forced.
Yeah, I think we're getting into a real extreme nuance here, but there are moments when it can feel staged and fake.
Mhm.
Especially, I don't know, I'm imagining walking into a wine tasting
Yeah.
and the wine tasting, I've paid $100 for the wine tasting. And there's a sense that the person is trying to create this shared community, but it's really just we're here to taste the wine. I don't, I don't know. It's just there are moments in which it just feels fake. It can feel
I
templated and fake. Yes.
Oh, templated. That's a very
Templated.
good
Yes.
word.
Yes.
So yeah, I agree. I think sometimes I don't even notice it. So sometimes probably if you don't notice it, that means that the person did a good job.
Totally.
But
We're
if you
genuine. Yeah.
right, if they're genuine. But if you notice it, I remember one time recently in particular, I heard it and it just made me stop for a sec.
Well, what was the scenario? Where were
It
you?
was a waiter. It was a waiter or
Okay.
waitress. I think similar to just, oh, how are we doing? Or not, and maybe not how are we doing, but maybe it may have been more of a specific question, like the appetizer type question. What are we thinking of having?
Well,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
no. It's fine.
I was
No.
gonna say, definitely if it's being done in the context of any kind of upsell or looking for an additional purchase, that rubs me the wrong way.
Oh,
That rubs me the wrong way.
right.
Are
So
we
maybe
looking
then it feels like
to
a tactic.
Yes, like, are we looking to start with any appetizers?
Yeah.
Would we like to get the higher end something, something? So
Yeah.
then you're basically using the building
Ah.
of community towards making higher sales in a way, but that's kind of a cynical way to look at it, right? So
Right.
I think when it's done off the cuff, spontaneously, and it feels genuine,
Right.
it works. It
Yeah.
works. Mhm.
Yeah, it can, it can. So it's, at basically, like we said, it's adding the word "we" and replacing the word "you" with "we."
Yes.
And again, this is important to talk about because it could be confusing for our listeners. You're learning
Yes.
English and then you hear "we" and you're thinking, "Wait, what? Who are we? What's
Right, you're
going
wondering, "Is
on?"
this person gonna join me for dinner?" I mean,
Right.
what's happening? And of course, it's not just in the context of it. The restaurant is an easy example,
Yeah.
but there are definitely other contexts, and maybe we'll get into some of them in a bit,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. It's used to make people feel close to you. And I think it's used mostly by professionals. So like we said, waiters,
Yeah.
waitresses, baristas,
Yeah.
designers, planners, or even announcers. So how
Yeah.
are we doing tonight? Right? You ever, like the
Yeah.
hype man, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
somebody
Mhm.
comes out before a show, or
Oh, okay.
how are we
Yeah.
doing tonight? Are we ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, instead of saying, "How are you doing tonight?"
Yeah.
Right? Because something about "How are you doing tonight" is just too I mean, you can say it. Of course, you can get away with it. It's just there's other ways to deliver that
Yeah.
line, right? Which is this is one of them. Yeah.
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, I remember recently somebody I was working with sent me a text with a picture that said, "Do we like this?" So that's another thing that you might hear. Do we like this? Do you ever maybe you're trying on clothes and
Uh-huh.
you're
Yes.
trying to pick an outfit, and we might
Yeah.
say, "Do we like this?"
Yeah, so that's a little different. So that's not so much a service provider of any
Right,
of or a salesperson. That's more like a group, and you're at but let's say you're trying it on and
right.
you're asking your friend if they
Right.
like it, if you together with your friend like it collectively, right?
Right, right, right,
Yes.
exactly. So to me, it's a strategy. It shows
Yes.
people that you care, that you're in their group. You're trying to show that you're eh, part
Community,
of
right?
part of a
Yeah.
community. Exactly. You are on that person's team.
100%, 100%.
Mhm.
And then I think there are other times, for example, at work where we might just certainly you're on their team, right? It's a team
Mhm.
thing, but you may just want to de-emphasize the you.
Mhm.
Even on our team, sometimes checking in, I'll say something like, "How are we doing on this?"
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Instead of "How are you doing on this?" It just feels a little less direct. And
Yes. Yes,
mhm,
I think that's a good point, right? Especially when you're addressing the group.
yes.
It's just to feel instead of, "Oh, how are you?" It because I think when you're addressing a group, you sounds like maybe one, and so
Yeah.
especially when it's a group, instead of just to make it sound more like the community you said, that "we" really opens it up.
Or even just talking to one person on the team.
Yeah.
Checking in on something, progress on some goal we have. I might say, "How are we doing on this?" to
Yeah.
mean, and it kind of hints in this case of the community, hints at the
Right.
community being, meaning it's not just that person that's responsible is gonna,
Mm.
if the goal doesn't get
Right.
accomplished, they're not,
Right.
it's really we're working together on it, but that
True.
person is responsible for the deliverable, right?
Right. Yeah. It's
Yes.
very interesting how it's used.
Yeah. Okay, Michelle, let's dig into some very clear examples.
Okay, so we're going to go through a couple ways that it could be used. So, for example, a doctor may walk in to
Mhm.
you're waiting usually for a long time for the doctor to come in,
Yes, I
and then
hate
they
that. I
walk
hate that.
right, and they may say, "How are we feeling today?" Or, sometimes if you're there for a sick visit, and they might say, "Oh, are we not feeling so well today?" Or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and of course, the doctor's not asking about their own health or
No.
feeling, right? They're asking about you, so they could very well say, "How are you feeling today?"
Yep.
And you will
Yeah.
also hear that. It's not like no one is saying that, right?
Right.
But we're just saying we don't want you to be confused when you hear this other way of speaking, right?
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Or what's another profession that you could hear is using this?
Sure. So a dentist, any
Mm.
kind of maintenance of health. Are we flossing every night?
Yeah.
Right. And
Mhm.
again, that might also be using we because it's a direct question. And
Mhm.
when you have a direct question and you use you, it feels even more direct. Are you flossing every night?
Right.
Right. It's very
Especially
direct.
the floss question is always a sensitive one because usually usually people don't
Flossing.
maybe don't floss every night or they
Yeah.
don't floss at all.
Complicated question. Yes.
Right, so it's
Yes.
always kind of when you go into the dentist, those questions might make somebody a little bit nervous, so the dentist
Let's say
might
they're
say, "Oh."
triggering. Yeah.
Yes, triggering, that's a good right, exactly, exactly, so, but right, any sort of maintenance or a thing you're supposed to do, even I can imagine, when you go to the doctor and sometimes they might say, "Oh, are we," they wanna know about your routines, they wanna know, do you
Yeah.
exercise? The person who comes in, maybe the practitioner or the nurse, and they come in and they might be going down a list. Oh, are we exercising 3 to 5 times
Yes.
a week? Things like
Yeah.
that.
Totally. So we're seeing a lot of different contexts here. We talk
So
about
many.
friends, and we'll show you a line that a friend might say now, but service providers like medical practitioners, that's for, it's all about kind of using community as the undertone, but maybe for different reasons. Like the medical practitioner is not
Right.
trying to upsell you,
Right.
right?
Right.
But it's about being less direct. And then a friend, Michelle, what's another example of what a friend
Right.
might say?
So you might be talking about a new show you're watching, or you could say, "Are we loving this new show?" So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
or like, "Do we hate this outfit or do we hate it?" You ever hear that kind of a construction?
Yes, do we hate this outfit or do we hate it, right? So it's
Yeah.
A or B, right?
Right, right, exactly. So this one is more just community building in my opinion.
Yeah, and then at the end of the meal with the waiter, waitress, they might come by and say, "Do we need any boxes to take home?" Right? So we're
Mhm,
not gonna
mhm.
finish, we've been working hard on our meal.
Yes, working, 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 yes.
So weird, so weird. And so, what's our advice to our listeners if they wanna try to use this? I mean, a big aspect outcome of today's episode is understanding what people are actually trying to
Right.
say
Yes,
when you
yes.
hear it, because you will, but if we wanna use it, any advice?
Right. Yeah, well, say it with confidence and be genuine.
Be genuine.
If it doesn't, don't just say, "I'm gonna do this today," right?
Right,
If it
right.
doesn't, I mean, you can try it out wherever it feels right. If it doesn't feel right, try to avoid it because it might sound unnatural. In my opinion, the best way to start using it would be for the community building.
Yes.
Maybe try using with a friend,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
something like that,
Mhm.
rather than trying to use it necessarily to upsell someone in the beginning.
Yeah, here's a simple way you could get started using it for our listeners, guys. You could just say, let's say you're with your friend and you're trying to decide where to go for dinner. What do we feel like tonight? What are we feeling
Mm.
like tonight? Thai or
Mhm.
Italian?
Mhm. Yeah,
That's really a nice, easy,
right.
approachable way to start using it. Okay, with a
Right.
native speaker. I love
That's
that.
a really good one. So, all right, should we do a role play?
Yes, let's do it. So
All
we
right.
are I'm working at a salad bar making salads and you're a
Mhm.
customer. Here we go.
Here we go.
Hi, how can I help you?
I'd like a mixed green salad with turkey.
Okay, great. And what kinds of toppings were we thinking of mixing in today?
Let's go with avocado, tomato, and feta.
Great. Okay, so this is kind of a fast casual type
Yes.
place. Is that
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Very hot trend, or at least it
Yes.
was in the last few years.
Yes.
All right, so where did we see we? here.
All right. So I told you what I wanted, and then you are going to the next step. You need more information from me. So you said,
Mhm.
what kind of
Topics.
toppings were we thinking of mixing in today? So this is a very interesting one because you could have also said, are we?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So lots of
This is fascinating. This is combining 2 weird grammar
yeah,
patterns, into one, right? And we could do another episode another
exactly.
day. I'm sure we have already done so. We'll do an updated one, guys. Hit follow on past tense, but you're not in the past tense. In this moment, you're in the present tense. So why
Yeah.
did I say, were we thinking? What kind of toppings were we thinking of mixing in today?
It's yeah, because it's you basically you're saying that it maybe you've been thinking about it for a while in the past.
Yes. It's
I'm
another way of being less direct.
yeah, it's another yes, absolutely.
Yeah, both of these functions, using we instead of you and using were instead of are both 2 ways to be less direct when you ask
Yeah,
someone that question. Fascinating.
yeah,
We'll come
yeah,
back to that second one, later, later this year, guys. All right?
definitely.
Good.
All
Michelle?
right. So, yeah, guys, definitely go over now and check out episode 2276 of this podcast, the All Ears English podcast. That was Breathe a Sigh of Relief with this
Mm.
vocabulary. So, a good vocab one that you can listen to.
Yeah. So for a takeaway today, I mean, we want to challenge you guys. Number one, just be ready for this. Now we've primed your ears. Anytime you
Mhm.
go into a restaurant, a fast casual place, a medical office
Mhm.
in the US right now in 2024, you're likely to hear this, Michelle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to know now, it doesn't always mean that you're doing something together. The person is
Right.
building community or being less direct, or maybe they're trying
Or
to sell you
following
something.
kind of more of a they may be trying to sell you something, but let's just err on the side of community. They're
Yeah,
trying to be friendly most of the time. That's
exactly.
really what it
Exactly.
is. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. So we won't be so cynical about it. But guys,
Yeah.
definitely look out for this one. And now you know when somebody says we to you when when they're not involved, we you know why they're doing it.
I love it. This is fantastic, Michelle. Thanks for bringing this key piece of modern English into All Ears English. We love it. We love it.
Of course. All right. And thanks again to Christina, our super listener. We love you. Thank you so much for listening and keep on listening.
All right. Good stuff. Take care, Michelle. Talk soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.